My name's Tamsin Colley. I'm a 21-year-old with cerebral palsy and autism, and I'm also an international representative athlete in both cerebral palsy football and para-athletics. I also study exercise physiology at the University of New South Wales in the hope of getting equipped to help other people with disabilities get active.
Hi, I'm Gerry Hewson. I'm a 6-time Paralympic wheelchair basketball coach and player. I've been in a chair since 1980. I'm a beekeeper, so I do that during summer. At the moment the bees are bludging, so they don't do much.
My name is Daria Alforova, and I used to work as a coach of a national Paralympic team in wheelchair dance sport. Formerly, now it's called para dance sport in Ukraine. Now I live in Australia. And I started running para dance sport sessions here in Sydney.
You're listening to episode 47 of Have the Nerve. My name is Susan Wood, and I have a decidedly better voice than the last time I talked to you. This is something to think about. Now, ordinarily, I would just go straight into the interview because it's a shorter episode. But today, you're going to hear 3 stories under the title, What Sport Means to Me. You're going to hear from Para-Matildas player Tamsin Colley, ex-Paralympian and current wheelchair basketball coach Gerry Hewson, and Ukrainian paradance coach Daria Alforova. Each one of them share their experience about what disability in sport means to them, because it's not just about the medals, and it's not just about strength, it's about a lot more than that. And if you're interested in anything that we've talked about in this episode, please check the show notes wherever you listen to your podcast.
First off, I had a brain tumor removed when I was around 18 months old, and that left me with balance, coordination and speech issues. I actually used a wheelchair until I was 5 years old, but with a lot of intensive therapy I was eventually able to walk, and my mum came from a physio background, so was always looking out for opportunities to keep me active and improve my rehab. So she took me to disability athletics coming Friday when I was 6. And I just love being around other people with disabilities, so start with that, and also tried swimming, dancing, cross country and soccer. I was very active as a kid, but soccer wasn't yet catered to people with physical disabilities, so I decided to stick with athletics for a bit until there was more opportunities for females with cerebral palsy to pursue football at an international level. So yeah, sport means a lot because you can just connect with the disability community and
So you did say that you waited around until there was more of an opportunity for women with cerebral palsy to compete, I guess, play on a more competitive level. Can you just tell me when that day came and how did you feel?
Yeah, I played soccer recreationally and stuff growing up, but I never, I always knew there was the Pararoos team for the men with cerebral palsy, but the women's team only actually got created in 2022. A few of my friends from international athletics were competing there, so I was following it on TV, and then I was getting motivated by that I could actually maybe pursue my dream of playing soccer. So I felt really it was cool to see people like me getting that opportunity, I just joined our local team because there wasn't that many opportunities then for training for people with cerebral palsy. And they were very welcoming, and then I eventually got selected for a training camp and got called up to play for Australia last year in the Para Asia Cup, which was really cool.
I didn't realise it was so close. 2022 is 2 years ago. You're going to the Paralympics, right?
Actually, cerebral palsy football isn't in the Paralympics because it's just not yet, but they're hoping for 2032. But I actually did go to the Paralympics in 2016 for para-athletics, so I still have that experience. And then I'm also I have some friends from there that are going to the Paris Games, so I'm looking forward to watching it on TV. And then the cerebral palsy football, there's a IFCPF, which is the International Federation. The World Cup is in November for that. So I'm hoping to get there or go in future years. I'll still be supportive of my teammates either way.
You and I, we both have sports that yours is Paralympic recognised, but it's not necessarily a Paralympic sport. You and I both kind of do sports that are very similar to that. Is the men's team in the Paralympic Games?
No, they actually used to be, but they got taken out until the women's team was like equal, because they like to be strive for equality in the Paralympics, which is good. So we just need to get like more players and stuff, because like not every country has a women's team yet. So it's gonna take a bit of time, but still it's like really good to keep seeing that growth and stuff. We're the only female team for people with cerebral palsy in Australia, I guess. So it's just a good opportunity when like we're able to play in tournaments. Like we play a lot of friendlies sometimes. Like last year there was one against Japan, which I actually didn't get into, but I watched on TV, and that like kept me motivated. But hopefully we'll have another opportunity like that. And then the World Cup, I think there's like 8 teams from around the world, so that's how many countries have like competitive teams so far. Yes.
Take me back to 2016, and you were doing athletics and you were in the Paralympic Games. How did that feel, and how did you get there?
Yeah, sure. So the Paralympics, I actually was a late call up to it, because I was the Russians were excluded due to a doping scandal, and then they had extra slots, so I got called up like 2 weeks before, and I was 14, so in year 8 at the time.
Stress.
So it was really stressful and like not much time to prepare, but I was so excited, and I don't like remember that much of it because I was 14, but it was just a great atmosphere. And up until then I had been training with paraplegics coach Matt Rawlings. He's really good, but he didn't want to like overtrain me too young, so I wasn't doing like that intense training back then. But it all worked out okay, I guess. And as the years go on, and as I got into cerebral palsy football, I am now motivated to like represent Australia again in that sport. So I've ramped up my training, I guess, and you see that on Strava.
How do you have time to go and train?
It's hard. I always right now it's the university holidays for me, because UNSW has 3 trimesters a year, so it's in between. And I find in the holidays I'm like, how do I have time for all this training when I'm at uni? Because but I seem to fit it in. Like it's a bit stressful, but I do uni part-time. Well, I do like 2 out of the 3 subjects a trimester to manage like my sport and disability too, which works really well. And then I'm on the elite athlete program, so they give me extra flexibility for that, and they're really understanding, so that's good.
When you talked about studying exercise physiology and your primary goal is to help other people with disabilities, talk to me about why that's important to you. It's just always been a really big goal of mine, because I guess I had a lot of like health professionals growing up that made a huge difference to me and my journey. And then ever since I saw that there was like that opportunity and that course available, and then people in that go into the disability space, and then I did a placement at neuro rehab center, and then got to work with people with disabilities. So I that confirmed in my mind that that's what I want to do. So I'm doing everything I can to get there. You also talked about how you love meeting other people with disabilities, and how that sort of atmosphere and community spirit is really important to you. From your perspective, why is it important? Why is that community important for you?
First, I think it's good to meet other people with disabilities through sport, because when you're in school and stuff, I was the only one with a disability in my school, and then I always tried out for the team sports and stuff, but never got in. So that was a bit disheartening, and then people have different interests, so it's really good to go to a passport environment where everyone has similar disabilities. No one judges you, they all understand, and you can meet people with similar interests and all work together towards a common goal. I think it should be taken more seriously, but it's great to see small steps towards that, because when I was at the Paralympics, it wasn't broadcast and stuff as much as it is now. In the past games, I'm really looking forward to seeing how big it'll be. There was a double and a half page ad in the paper recently, so I was really excited about that. But people should realize, we don't just exist at the Paralympics, it's all year round. All 4 years round, we train as much as everyone else, and we have to get through some stuff to get there. So para sports is, if anything, more interesting than able-bodied sports. So and we deserve equal opportunities to play and be recognized. It should be taken more seriously, but slowly getting there.
What would you say has been one of your biggest challenges and biggest successes in your, I guess, is it a career now?
Life, I guess. And then the biggest hindrance to my sporting journey was actually when I broke my ankle in 2016. People said maybe I wouldn't get back to it for a while, but then I proved them wrong and actually did a PB at an international competition 6 months after that. So that was really cool. So but being a lot of determination to get back there and maybe prove those people wrong that said it would take a lot of time to get back there, was what kept me going. And then just a feeling of doing elite sport, and when people come up to you and say they saw you in the media, so they're inspired to pursue elite sport, that's a lot of what keeps me going too. So I just love doing sports, so that was a big challenge, achievement, which I'm so proud of.
It's a theme, it's a recurring theme that keeps coming back every time I do a podcast episode recently, when it comes to seeing somebody like yourself mirrored in the media or wherever it is. How do you feel when somebody's I saw you and that really kickstarted what I believe is, inspired me to get into sports because I saw myself in you?
Yeah, it's just really special. I had a lot of those idols growing up when I saw on TV at previous Paralympics, Louis Savage and Kirsten and stuff. So to be able to be part of that is pretty special. And then the people I actually ran a disability come on try day myself in 2017, I think now, and being able to push people to try new things and be part of a passport is really cool. So,
what would you say to all the people out there who might not know or see themselves in an athlete and don't really know? For myself, for example, you're 21, I'm 39. It was Louise Savage and then no one, right? When I was growing up. So, do you have any thoughts around what you would like to say to anybody with a disability who might feel like there's no one out there like them?
Yeah, I would say if you feel like you're the only one you're not. There's so many of us out there. You just might not see us all the time, but we're doing everything we can to be seen. So it's just I would say to anyone with a disability to keep trying. Things will get better and eventually you'll meet people like you and maybe even get to play or meet with your idols, which is a really good opportunity. So you'll get there.
People with disabilities in this country, they keep saying 4.4 million people have a disability in this country, but out of those 4.4 million, they might still be the only one out there. And sometimes they might live in a regional or rural town. And sometimes it might be hard to see another representative of disability for them. I'm pretty sure that, if anybody wants to, they can just find you on Facebook. Not Facebook, Instagram. What are the kids doing? Instagram, TikTok. What are they doing?
Yeah, I guess Instagram is the most popular. I'm actually on most of the social platforms now, but yeah, because I post similar content on all of them, and it's interesting to see which one does better. But yeah, Tamsin Colley, that's how I think you found me, so it's really good. I had someone yesterday saying oh, I follow you on Instagram, and then I said, oh, I follow you back, and they were like, yay. And I just love being that person they can look up to, so yeah, it's a really great feeling.
Yeah, so if you want to find her, she is on Instagram, potentially TikTok, I haven't found her yet there, and Strava. Tamsin, thank you very much for talking to me today. It's been a really insightful chat.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Gerry, thank you very much for being on Have the Nerve. You've had quite an illustrious career. Do you want to talk about what sport means to you?
In 1980, I fell off a racing motorcycles. I was 22 years old, and I really, obviously to anyone who had a spinal cord injury or any accident itself, it was a complete shock and very disheartening, to say the least. Through my rehab, I was taken from Royal North Shore Hospital out to Lidcombe, where they had made up this basketball court and this old cafeteria. So I got out there in my Metalite chair, which weighed about 50,000 kilos, and started pushing up and down the court. And then what I saw is these guys who actually made their own wheelchairs, lightweight wheelchairs. They were flying up and down the court, falling out, blood and guts, sweat, everything all over the place. And I go, wow, this is mad. This is unreal. Before that experience, I had a guy called Nick Morozov, who's now deceased. So Nick was, I was in hospital, laying on my back, waiting for things to heal and things like that. And he came into my ward, and had this, I'm pretty sure it was winter, and he had this muscle T-shirt on, built like a brick toilet, and I'm Nick Morozov, I'll do this. I've just rode down the Darling River over 5 weeks or something, raising money for someone, and I play basketball, got a couple of girlfriends, and I go, oh, okay, this is drive a car. And so he was really, I suppose, the first person to kind of make me think about, well, there is something after this horrible incident, and there may be something for me to do. And at the time, the OTs would give you Sports and Spokes magazines, and there was a lot of different sports and things like that in there too. So they obviously knew that at 22 I was reasonably fit and healthy, and wanted to try and point me in that direction. The first night at that basketball competition, I spent most of the time in the middle of the court, because by the time they were pushing, I was pushing at one end to try and chase them. They were coming back the other way because I was so slow, and I get at the other end. So spent a lot of time in the middle of the court. Took my first shot, nothing but air. Didn't hit the net, didn't hit the ring, didn't hit anything. But I just had a sense that there was, first of all, a lot of very positive people around in that sporting area, and also obviously people that have gone through the same situation that I had, and talking about stuff and things like that. So that was certainly the I suppose the start of my sporting career, by just seeing that game that night.
Obviously, meeting Nick for the first time was a very eye-opening experience for you. It could be quite isolating for people if they're not seeing other people that are like them.
Yeah, I know you guys do a lot of peer support stuff, and I think it's hugely important. I just recently came across a guy in a country town that's that is basically hasn't hung around wheelies at all, and you just could tell that that person not hanging around someone it's really, really not good, because just simple things, very negative, very isolated at all. He's around obviously able-bodied mates and things like that, which is great. But I think one of the positive things about hanging around people that have gone through something similar to you have is you just find out stuff. Like, for instance, the first time I ever went away in 1918, sorry, 18, that's a long time ago, in 1982, I went to Melbourne for a national games. And so I was talking to this guy called Johnny Martin, kind of a bit of a legend of wheelchair sport. And I said, well, how am I going to take my commode? And he goes, what do you mean you take your commode? You don't. You just transfer on the toilet and do your stuff on there. And I go, oh, really? And so I haven't used one since. So just simple things like that. And obviously the sexual kind of stuff of things that blokes sit around, have a chat about and things like that is obviously very important too.
So tell me about your journey to the Paralympics. And, I'm actually interested in how being part of the Paralympics and having your injury in 1980, I always think about how disability in sports has been perceived over the years, and especially if you're going to a national and international level. Maybe it's just me, the way that the Paralympics is not just marketed, but the 2012 London Paralympics, I think was the first one that outsold the Olympics, purely based on marketing and how people had perceived people with disabilities in sport up until, that point. What do you have? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's chalk and cheese compared to where we are at today. Like, it's incredible how progressive and how the media looks at disabled sport now as being sport / disability sport. So it's always, in the past, it's always been disability. Oh, and you play sport. That's very nice. Good to see you out in the community, stuff like that. So, so my kind of journey, I did lots of other sports before I did basketball. I did track. I did tennis. I swam like a stone. I threw things not very far. So, to me, when I was younger, I played rugby league and soccer and a little bit of AFL. So I was a team person. So starting to play wheelchair basketball, which I'd never played basketball before, was a pretty slow experience. I mean, I'm a T4, T5, so tiny, a little bit incomplete. So don't have much balance in the game. So getting a wheelchair basketball chair made for me made a big difference, and those equipment obviously have got better over the years. So in 88, so in 1986, we went away with a team, an Australian team, to go to people probably know a place called Stoke Mandeville in England, the Stoke Mandeville Games, and that was the first time I'd ever been overseas, ever been on a plane, all that stuff. It was quite amazing, really. So, and that was the first time we went away, and we actually won a gold medal on the first time we went away. So, this is a piece of cake. You turn up and at this competition, it was World Games. It wasn't a World Championship or anything, and we won a gold medal. So that was eye-opening. And it was just also quite amazing because at the disco at the end of the party, whatever, at the end of the competition, all these blokes that you saw in chairs, all of a sudden they were dancing on the floor, and they're going, okay, that's a bit interesting. How does that work? So they had certainly a different classification system in those days. And so that kind of got me started. And in 88 in Seoul in Korea, that was the first time that the Paralympics and the Olympics was kind of combined. So 2 weeks after, we used the same venue, same accommodation and things like that. So it was incredible to, wheel into the stadium where there's 80,000 people just going mad because, you're playing a sport, playing in the Paralympics was incredible. Like coming from probably playing our national league with a couple hundred people in our stadium, whatever, and things like that, to do that. And every game was sold out by mainly school kids in those days. But it was an absolute buzz and mind blowing to know that you were part of the Paralympics, and I suppose it was inspiring to say the least. And so from there, it was 92. We went to Barcelona. Incredible, like very, very cool. I won a gold medal in eating magnums because the magnums were free, so that probably wasn't a great gold medal to win. But it was
it's the best one. Free food.
You had this token to put in any Coke machine, any Streets machine, and stuff like that, and so it probably wasn't the greatest thing to do as an athlete. Very challenging for us, that competition. I think we finished fifth. Then so 96 we won. Like we won in Atlanta, and Atlanta was the worst games ever, in that the US have no idea about Paralympics. I mean, it may be a tiny bit better now, but so they know about the Special Olympics because the Kennedys were behind the Special Olympics. So most people think, you say Paralympics, the Special Olympics. So that was really quite different. So we get there and we're on this campus, university campus, that was on a hill. So they had no transport. So they came into the place and you had no transport to get to the bottom of the hill, top of the hill. So I didn't think of that. I better get some golf carts and stuff. So that was really challenging. The food was horrible. The food was just disgusting, like this horrible grits and hamburgers, and that's what athletes would eat. So that was really, really poor. Like they took all the computers out of all the venues from the Olympics and left none of the computers. All the bus drivers they had for the Olympics were all sacked, and so they had to bring in Army and Navy personnel to drive buses, and they didn't know where they were going. So we'd be going along and...
Sorry, why were they sacked? I have so many questions, probably I guess a couple of things...
And I think it's just the budget. Like Paralympics in those days had bugger all budget, so the Olympics had all the money. So we'd be driving around, we could see the stadium. Oh, there it is over there, it looks pretty good. We're going to get there eventually, and eventually the guy or girl would work out how to get to the stadium, and we'd sometimes turn up late to games and things like that. So it was really, really, really disappointing the way it was organised. And I don't know, they've got Los Angeles is the next one after Paris. So hopefully they got their act together, because that was really, really disappointing, the organisation. But obviously we are playing quite well and winning a gold medal, and watching your flag go up and singing the national anthem was pretty cool, to say the least. And the last one was Sydney. So Sydney, I finished in Sydney, and it was incredible. Like, it was just, you play most of your life your sport for Australia overseas, and have the opportunity to play here in front of your own crowd. In fact, in 1998, we had a Gold Cup, the World Championships here at Homebush. So we had a bit of a prelim to the Paralympics in 2000. But it was nothing compared to 2000. Like, you could not push around the street with your gear on and without being mobbed by people. You're wanting, what sport do you play? Can I have an autograph? It was an amazing buzz. It was amazing buzz, and the Paralympics here in Australia was probably certainly the best Paralympics by far in that era. Maybe London was a little bit different, but there was fantastic fun to be able to do that in your own country.
That's awesome. And I have spoken to other Paralympians who do say that there's just something really, like you say, really, really special about finally playing on your home turf, representing your country, and you're a Paralympian as well. So, like, you know, there was just something a bit electrifying, I think is what they said about the 2000 games.
Yeah.
Going back to the Atlanta games and, you know, not having a lot of budget for the Paralympics, surely you would have just felt, I mean, even though you got gold and it was amazing, it was a bit deflating traveling all that way and then having your accommodation on a hill with no food. So am I under the impression that the food that you were given, the Olympics wouldn't have had that?
No.
I know I'm focusing a lot on the food, but
no.
I care a lot about food.
No, fair enough. No, and I know it was compared to Barcelona, it was incredible. They did a great job. All the accommodation was fantastic, right by the ocean. You get down the beach, and the only thing it was a dry Paralympics, so you had no alcohol, so you had to go along to the karaoke bar and drink non-alcoholic drink and try and sing. And obviously, when you do that, you don't sound good. You sound much better when you had one or two beers. So that was the only disappointing thing about Barcelona.
So 2000 was your final games, is that right?
Yeah, as a player, then I coached the Australian women's team in Athens in 2004, where we won silver. Then the last one was in Beijing. In Beijing, obviously, we had won a bronze medal there. So we did okay. I mean, it's always women haven't won a gold medal in their history so far, and it's getting much harder to win a gold medal at any Paralympic sport, not only basketball, but the professionalism, the equipment, the training. People are being paid full time to play. Like, for instance, in the Netherlands, the women's team in Netherlands, they all live in Amsterdam, so from all over the country, not a very big country, obviously. They all train and play during the week under a head coach. Then on that weekend, they go out through Europe and play either in women's teams or mixed teams throughout Europe. So we, in Australia, can't match that. Like, it's really, really difficult. And at the moment, with our men's and women's national leagues have been poorly run, and this year coming, in a couple of weeks' time, we start a couple of months' time, we start our national league, which will have 7 men's team and 4 women's teams. So that's kind of slowly getting back to where we should be to try and be competitive at that higher level, because you just, like, for instance, in the States, they have the college system in overbody, but also they have wheelchair basketball in the college systems. So you're there training twice a day, playing a zillion games over different competitions there. Where in Australia, you can't do that. Like, there's not enough competition. Most people these days probably have to work anyway to have a job, be able to do that too.
Would you say that's your biggest challenge as a coach, or what has been?
Well, firstly, it's numbers. Like, there are plenty of men around, because men are stupid and do silly things and race things and fall off things and things like that. So with women, it's very, very difficult, because they are sensible, and majority of them are, and so we just don't have the numbers of people and who want to play. And one of the things, the greatest things of this day and age, is that you have so much more variety of things you could do. Like in 1980, when I started playing sport, that was it. Like, you played sport, and what else did you do? Or you maybe went back to work or whatever. So, you can do, there's wheelchair AFL, I think there's wheelchair netball, but you can do anything. There's all the mountain biking stuff, and you can do really any sport, rugby league, obviously the Paralympic sports, but anything recreationally outside of that, you can go and do that. So it's just really certainly for our women's team, is trying to find women who, first of all, want to have a crack. but also then providing an opportunity for those women to play at a level where they feel comfortable to play at. Then eventually, because at the moment there's not enough women, so you play against men, and some men are not very nice, or they don't know the strength or whatever. Just try and refrain from swearing. So they might, knock someone out of their chair, knock a girl out of their chair, and think, okay, that's great, showed her, and then she doesn't come back. So it's providing opportunities for women to play against women, and if they want to, because they want to get better, stronger and faster and stuff, so they play against men. And that obviously makes them, much better players if they can play against men. But initially, it's not a great idea. So we don't have a lot of opportunities for women to play against women in that area. So really, numbers is our challenge to get that. Second one is just competition. In your day training environment is how do you, where do you train, who do you play with, how many times a day do you train. The sports science and all that kind of stuff is okay, like, strength-wise and things like that. But just you need to be training against someone, playing against someone, and that's the challenge for us here in Australia.
I spoke to a Paralympian at a time when we were just moving into a phase where we all found out that medal winners in the Paralympics weren't being paid for winning medals. And those times have now changed, which wasn't that long ago. You would have been in the exact same category, right? And funding for you to get there.
Got nothing.
Yeah, and funding for you to get there. How was that?
No, so well, you raised early on. You raised your own funds. You did your barbecues, your sausage sizzles outside, Wenny leagues and stuff like that. It was hard work, but it was also enjoyable because then you got to spread the word of what you're doing to your local community. You're out there showing that you weren't asking for donation. We were asking for donation. We gave them a sausage, a bit like Bunnings, but it was really, really tough work, and you had to pay X amount of dollars to do that. Like even today, like we in our National League here in Sydney, players still have to pay. Our team gets sponsors and things like that, but still have to pay X amount of money to be able to do that. But the beauty of something that we other countries don't have, they don't have the NDIS system. So having NDIS and being able to get equipment and things like that is just fantastic, really. So that's one advantage we do have here in Australia to be able to do that, is to have the NDIS.
Yeah. So what do you hope for the future of sport, whether it's wheelchair basketball or, the future of disability and sport? What would you like to see?
Well, that's a good question. I suppose it's come a long way to be treated as an athlete. If you're an elite athlete at that elite level, and even below that, like if you're still trying to, get into whatever sport you want to get into, you're just a person who wants to play sport. Not a person with a disability who wants to play sport. So that's where I see. Hopefully, the future will become is that you can just go to any sporting organisation and say, listen, I'm a wheelchair user. I want to play wheelchair basketball. How do I go about that? Or am I'm a track athlete or a field athlete. Where do I sign up to do that? So, New South Wales Wheelchair Sport ACT here in New South Wales have done an amazing job over the years, and they has supported multiple Paralympians and multiple people who start out somewhere and start getting into wheelchair sport. These days now, there's more of a push to be able to do your sport within the actual Able Body Association. Now, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. And one of the reasons why it doesn't is that, for instance, here in New South Wales, Basketball New South Wales, trying, or will be have taken over our junior elite program and one of our leagues. So that's fantastic. That's great. But the thing is, like, the Basketball New South Wales have 85,000 members. We are, I don't know, 100, couple of hundred maybe max of their people are register. So, you know, sometimes in those organisations and the national organisations, you get lost. Your sport gets lost, and it's not a priority. Whereas I think, you know, within a wheelchair sport organisation or disability sport organisation, you are the priority, because, you know, that's what they're there for. So, like, you know, in the real world, in the ideal world, it'd be unreal that there was probably no disability sport organisation. But I think that's probably never going to happen, and I hope it doesn't happen, because, I think the idea of having a disability sport organisation there to support you and try and put you on the pathway to elite sport is probably really, really important.
Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast, Gerry.
No worries. Look, well done to you guys. Like, you do a great job, and keep it up.
Daria, this is a little bit of a passion project interview at the moment. So a lot of people may or may not know, depending on where they're listening and how long they've been listening for, that you and I have been doing paradance for quite a number of years now, like 5 years or 6 years or something like that, like a real long time.
Something like this, around 6 years.
Yeah,
probably.
around 6 years. Do you just want to talk about your time in Ukraine and your, I guess, wheelchair dance sport career before? Actually, why did it go from wheelchair dance sport to paradance? Do you know?
I think that they have plans to include more categories, because when it started, it was just, the way for wheelchair dance, for wheelchair users to to have some mild exercise, and also to be able to dance, for example, with their spouses or things like this. So it started not as a sport, it started as a recreational activity and mild exercise. And first it was mostly wheelchair users, but I think they decided to change it to come in line with another, because it's a official Paralympic sport. So, and they have a whole range of sports that start with the word para. So it's like para powerlifting, para fencing, and so on and so forth. So one reason why they changed it is because to make it in line with other para sports. And also I think that they plan to add more categories in the future, like not just for wheelchair users, but also, for example, for people with leg amputations using prosthetic legs or some things like this.
Brilliant. And so let's talk about your career and getting into dance and paradance.
So I started dancing when I was 9, and I used to be a competitive dancer. I used to gradually, I decided that it's going to be my career. So I was studying at university to get a Bachelor of Choreography degree, and I started being adjudicator at able-bodied dance sport competitions. And when my coach started developing paradance in Ukraine, I was on board with that, and I was the first standing partner to partner up with the dancer in a wheelchair. And it all started in 2001, so quite a long time. First, I partnered up with the wheelchair user. With my partner, we competed all over Europe, because paradance is quite popular in many European countries. So now it's around 30 countries all over the world who are practicing this. So we had competitions like in Germany, in the Netherlands, Belarus, Poland, Italy, countries like this, Malta, and my coach, our head coach, she was close to her retirement age, so gradually she was giving some of the responsibilities to me, and over the time I became one of the team's coaches, and that was my time to prepare the next generation of para dancers. So we had a big team, and first it all started in the capital city in Kyiv, and then more regional coaches, more regional cities decided that that's something that they are interested to do, and we were giving all information to them. We had training camps, and people were coming to us from like many Ukrainian cities. It was a great time.
You took this massive team, and how many people were in the team?
It was different at different times. So first, it was only first when it all started, it was only me and my dancing partner at those competitions. Then we had kind of 2 more couples, 3 more couples, 7 couples in Kiev, and then other regions started to join us. So I think it's around 20 couples in the team, which is quite a lot. Which is quite a lot for a national team, because still some countries their national team is kind of 5 couples, or some people do partner dancing, some people, because in para dance, that's another a little bit off topic, but in para dance there are different categories according to the level of abilities. And also, it can be a single program for men, single program for women. So combi dancing is when a couple consists of one person, a wheelchair user, and another person, a standing partner.
When people talk about para dance sport and wheelchair dance sport, I don't think we've really discussed what that actually means if you've come from a dancing background. So it's adaptive ballroom Latin dancing.
So it can be ballroom dancing, it can be Latin dancing, and the rules and everything is pretty much what I like. What I'm passionate about is that you can adapt any dancing figure from able-bodied dance sport to para dance. Literally every figure, everything. It makes people come together and create something beautiful, and they're equal. So if a wheelchair user is dancing with a standing partner, they both should have the same level of, technique, musicality, you name it. Everything can be done on the same level. So that's beautiful. That there is no difference. You're looking at the couple dancing, and you don't see that one of them is using a wheelchair. You see beauty of the dance. You see musicality, and also from sports perspective, because it is a sport. It can be quite intense. It can be fast. It can be
it's quite athletic.
Yeah, quite athletic. Yeah.
The whole theme of, I guess, these series of podcasts that I'm recording for this episode is, what does sport mean to people, right? And so I have a couple of things in mind, that I want to talk about that we've both experienced together. But I guess back home in Ukraine, do you mind sharing some stories around, what sport and what para dance sport actually means to some of the participants that took place and went into the championships and all that?
Just to give some background, Ukraine is still a developing country in many ways. The accessibility at all levels of life is not great. So when I came to Australia, I was surprised to see accessible toilets everywhere, lifts everywhere, those slopes when you kind of go up.
The gutter?
Yeah, the gutter. I was surprised, I was amazed, and I kept thinking about my athletes from Ukrainian team. I kept thinking about them and thinking they would love that. Oh, that would be amazing, because there is literally nothing like this, and especially maybe now things are gradually getting there, especially in big cities. But when it all started in 2000s, it was nothing like this. And it was quite difficult for people to get out of their home, out of their apartment, with those accessibility issues. Also, it creates problems with education, because, for example, universities were not accessible. So even if a person is talented, have enough knowledge to enter uni, just that problem with getting out and about, getting into the uni if there is 8 levels in the building and no lift. Yeah, so that's a huge thing. And we had discussions with our team members that many of them were, clever enough to get into uni, but they couldn't go there because of those accessibility issues. They would love to have jobs, but again, no one wanted to take them as their employees because of those accessibility issues. So lots of problems like this. So one of the girls, so she started doing paradance, and later she went on to become a multiple world champion. So she's an amazing dancer, and she competed in all categories. She competed in women's single, she competed in combi ballroom, combi Latin American. She had multiple standing partners for different reasons, and she's still competing. She's still in finals, and she's now, I think, 39. So when she came to us, she was 16, and as far as I know, she didn't have an active wheelchair. So her mother, when she was 16, her mother brought her to the dance class in a pram, in a kid's pram. So she wasn't able to get out of her apartment. She was sitting in her apartment with her parents for 16 years. So they were not bringing her out too much. First, because nothing is accessible, and second, I am sad to say that, but they were ashamed of having a daughter with disability. They didn't want people to see her. They didn't want people. I don't know. Part of that was their shame, and part of that was they were afraid that kids will laugh at her and things like this. So she spent 16 years of her life just in, and it was a small apartment, because in Ukraine we don't count bedrooms, we count actual rooms. So there is no thing as a living room. Most people repurpose the living room, and during the day it's a living room, but at night some family members sleep there. So it was a 2-room, not 2-bedroom, 2-room apartment. And when she came to us, we had to teach her to use the manual wheelchair and teach her lots of things, because she didn't know how she didn't talk to people too much. So it was a big change for her in terms of yes, she became a world champion. She became an amazing dancer, and she's very passionate about it. But also felt empowered. She felt that she found people to communicate with. She found a way to travel all over the world. She found a way to express herself. And that was amazing.
And you once told me a story about how because you were talking about accessibility in Ukraine and it being really quite shit. You would tell me stories about how your team members would take a train and then haul their wheelchair up the stairs just to make it to the dance class. That was a normal thing, because out of our team, 2 people were driving their cars. So 2 people had their own, 2 people from Kiev team, and also I think a couple of people from regional teams. But everybody else was using public transport. So everybody else, and it's not accessible. So people were using trains. And in Ukraine, it's all underground station. In Ukraine, we have one of underground stations in Kiev is the deepest underground station in the world. So it's very, very deep. Life made them develop amazing skills, holding themselves on the rails in an escalator, jumping that gap to enter the train, or things like this. Without any ramps. Tell me what it was like when you were taking your team to compete and then they won the World Championships.
I am smiling now because I have such a fond memories of that process. I remember one of my last World Championships that I was accompanying the team to in Germany. So I think we had a team of I don't remember, probably around 8 wheelchair users, and some of them were dancing solo, some of them were partnering up with another wheelchair user,
and some of them were having standing partners. So obviously everybody in the team, and we had a couple of coaches. Unfortunately, we didn't have funding to bring any volunteers with us to kind of help carry all the wheelchairs and stuff and spare wheels and things like this.
That's right, because you've got to bring spare wheels. I think people don't really think about it.
Some of them, it was the angle was not too big, so it was still possible to enter the doors, enter the toilet. So they were just bringing a set of spare wheels, and it was pretty much minimum stuff with them, just dancing costumes, some minimum stuff. So they were carrying everything in their backpacks, and just all standing people, like coaches, standing partners, were just carrying that set of spare wheels. But several people in the team had those slanted wheels, and they were too wide to enter the doors and toilets and many places. So they had to bring one wheelchair for dancing and one wheelchair for everyday business. One of the other world champions, there was a guy who was also a multiple world champion. And once he put his dancing wheelchair in luggage, and it was lost. So something happened, because I don't remember, it was many years ago, but I think it was some transit, so we were kind of changing planes or something like this, and just his wheelchair didn't arrive. So it was a big stress for everybody, because he wouldn't be able to show the same results in his everyday wheelchair. So and we arrived to the country. We had 3 days. First day to settle in, to warm up, to kind of to have a little bit of rest after the long trip. Then second day was like a competitive day, but luckily his category was not on the second day, so we were lucky. And we were all just hoping and praying and calling all possible places and with translators, because no one spoke English too much, and also it was not in English-speaking country. It was probably in the Netherlands or somewhere. So we had lots of phone calls to try to track down that wheelchair. And then also his dancing costumes were there. So it was a kind of a big carry bag with that wheelchair and his dancing costumes packed into. Luckily, when it was the third day of our trip, they found that wheelchair. They brought it to the competition venue, and he was able to use his wheelchair, and he was able to compete. After that situation, we were just asking to put those spare wheelchairs, and all wheelchairs, like all of them, not in the luggage, but I don't know how it's called, when they put it on board, like inside the plane rather than in luggage.
I don't really know what that's called either, Daria. I don't really know.
And we were kind of struggling with airport stuff every time. You don't understand. Those are athletes. That's their wheelchairs that they need for competitions. We need to put them on board, not in the luggage. If something happens to them, there is no point of us traveling to that competition. So it was kind of a hassle every time. But yeah, after that, yeah.
Yeah, right. Also, I just wanted to bring up when you started doing Paradance online classes. So I just wanted to talk about a story of a girl. She lives in the border of Albury, doesn't she? Albury, New South Wales.
Yeah. She lives in Albury. Yeah, and that's lucky. We started doing online classes, COVID pandemic, when lockdown started. So I advertised a bit, and she joined the group.
Yeah.
And that's lucky, because now I continue doing that online class because of her.
Yeah.
Because it's too far for her to attend our sessions in Sydney. It's how many? It's 3-4 hours drive from Sydney, so it's not possible. But that's lucky that we still do it, and that's good. It's not going to be a competitive dancing for her, but still it's a good thing to do, like from the perspective of mild physical exercise and moving to the music. And
yeah, and also I think something that you brought up when this first began was it was during the pandemic. It was her, myself, and like 2-3 other people, and
I think it was around six people.
And it was the first time that she had actually been around people who like women in wheelchairs.
Yeah, that's the phrase. That's the phrase her mother said, because she goes to a mainstream school. She's she just started high school. So she's quite young, and that was good for her. And as far as I see, no one at her school is a wheelchair user. So it's a great thing for her to be able to see other people who are active, who are working, who are kind of living their full life. To be able to see that, and that's a good example for her.
Tell the people about the last competition for people in Ukraine where, actually, no, even before that, let's talk about the war going on at the moment. So the war's going on at the moment, and Ukrainian team are going to the World Championships again. Talk to me about how they trained and then their journey to actually get to the competition.
Okay, and I will say that, and also I will add a couple of more stories.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, because when I started about the story of that girl who was 16 years old, and she had to learn to use manual wheelchair, but also some other stories of people because what sport does to people, like it can be any sport. Just some people are more inclined to kind of sports that are faster, higher, quicker, or what was that? Faster, higher, stronger. Yeah. And para dance sport is kind of a bit in between athletic sports and art, because we use music. There are some judging criteria as musicality and character of the music or character of the dance. So it's a bit in between athletic qualities and art qualities, like even artistic qualities. So one of our male dancers, he used to be a detective. So he used to be a head of homicide department in Ukrainian police force, and incredible person, incredibly intelligent person. He was in the army, then he became a police detective, then he became a head of the department. So that was quite a journey. And I remember him telling stories to the team how he was investigating, murders and things like this. So they had a police operation. So they were going to arrest a criminal. As far as I remember, he was some head of a organized crime group. Yeah. And they were arresting. They were kind of hiding near his apartment to arrest him, and then there was that kind of dramatic situation, and that dancer of ours, he was shot, and unfortunately the bullet went through the spine. And since then he got his spinal injury, but that didn't stop him from being active in other sports too. But also he started doing para dance. First, he just wanted to take some dance classes to be able to dance with his wife. But then it turned out that she was not too much interested. But he got into that. He liked the idea, and he was good at that. So he was dancing with the stand-in partner lady for some time. Then he partnered up with another lady, like a wheelchair user lady. And he was a multiple world champion in Latin combi and ballroom duo as well. People came into dancing for multiple reasons. Also, another lady who has double leg amputation. So she used to dance before her injury. She used to, but it wasn't ballroom dancing. It was another style. So it was more like classical dancing and a bit of aerobics. And then, unfortunately, it was a train accident, and she lost her legs. But she didn't stop. She didn't stop dancing. So she started doing para dance with us, and also she went on teaching able-bodied groups of children on 2 prosthetic legs. So she still has her able-bodied dance studio. She still choreographs amazing dances. And sometimes she uses a help of some instructors for some demonstrations, but mostly she runs it all herself. She explains everything clearly, and she gives examples. She shows videos, and she still does it. And she's a great competitor in para dance.
Okay, now tell me the story about dance in a time of war. So I know that you know a lot of people who have been going through competitions, and I remember you telling me the story of your friends and where they had to like travel undercover basically to try and get to the border so then they can go and compete.
When the war started, it was a huge shock for everybody. It was like it is still going on. It is still devastating, and that's just it's unbelievable how things like this are still happening in the 21st century. But when it all happened, I tried to keep in touch with the members of the team, and some of them were able to cross the border temporarily, and they were in Poland or in some surrounding countries for some time. But then they all came back. They all came back to Ukraine because like everybody believes it's their country. Like everybody believes that this situation will end. There will be victory, and
nobody wants to leave their home country.
Yeah. And when it all started, I remember calling one of the ladies, and I was begging her. I said, come to Australia, come to me. We will host you in our house just until that situation kind of settles down. And it's not safe because it is horrible. Like they have those air raid sirens almost every single day, and you never know, and also power outages. So most of population in big cities, they live in apartments. So not too many people have private houses. They hit electric infrastructure, energy infrastructure, and because of that, there are lots of power outages. And I was talking to her, and I was saying, like, what is the level that you live in on a building? It's not ground level. So if something happens, if your house is struck by a missile, and something happens, what are you going to do? Like your partner, he can just run down the stairs and go into the basement. But if he has to kind of manually lift you up from the wheelchair and run together with you, you are going to die. Yeah. So I was begging her to come to Australia and to live with us for the time being, but she said no. I'm staying where I am. I'm not going to abandon my partner. I want to be with him through this time, and that was her decision. Yeah. So first it was a bit of that time when everybody didn't know what to do. But then they came back to the training sessions because I believe that it helped them, I guess, to distract themselves from what was going on and to still have that, to enjoy the thing that they love doing and to, persevere in that situation. And when it was that next World Championship, it was in winter. It was in December. It's winter in Europe. It was in December last year in Italy. Unfortunately, because of the war situation, Ukrainian Paralympic Committee didn't have funding for them to go to that competition. Because in Ukraine, like here in Australia, the situation is a bit more challenging.
Very different. They actually fully fund your teams.
More challenging, from the perspective of funding. But in Ukraine, we were lucky that Ukrainian Paralympic Committee was supporting us financially. So we were paid salary as coaches. Top athletes, for example, our European Championship champions, world champions, they were getting paid. We were funded for costumes, for sports wheelchairs, for traveling to competitions, entry fees, all things like this. So we were lucky. But unfortunately, that time in December 2023, they didn't have that funding for Ukrainian team to go to that World Championship in Italy. So they had to fundraise all the money. So not everybody in the team managed to do that, but quite a lot of people. So people spent their own money, like everybody was fundraising, a couple of community organizations helped. And also all airports in Ukraine they are closed at the moment because it's too dangerous. They shot one plane and they can do it like anytime. So all airports are closed. Our team they had to travel by cars, and it was in winter with lots of snow. So they put all wheelchairs, all staff, all their costumes in those cars. I think it was 4 cars or something like this. So everybody was fitting into that. It was quite dramatic with snow falling everywhere and kind of people taking turns to drive. So they have to drive to the border and then cross the border with Poland. And in Poland, they took a plane to Italy.
And how did they do?
It was great, but of course, with all that stress, and also in Ukraine at the moment, young men can be called to be soldiers. They can be conscripted. They can be conscripted at any time. So that means that some of our standing partners are already in the army. They are fighting, and we are just hoping and praying every day that they stay safe. So some of them are already in the army. So some of them are waiting for their dancing partners from the war. But some of other dancing partners, they were just unable to travel because they are in that age group that they are not allowed to leave the country for the time being. So it was a bit of that, shift, and it was a bit, So I think that if it wasn't that war situation, Ukraine is one of the strongest, Ukrainian team is one of the strongest teams in paradance sport in the world.
Really? I guess sport means so many things. Well, paradance sport, one, is very different from a lot of, I guess, sports that Australians might be familiar with. But also the actual commitment to the sport itself is huge for Ukrainian teams.
And it's not only in Ukraine. So many countries have huge teams. Like Poland has a big team. It was happening in the Netherlands for ages, and in Germany, and lots of countries do that because it's a great sport. It brings together everything. It brings together able-bodied people and wheelchair users to compete on equal grounds. It brings together men and women. It brings together people of all ages.
What do you hope for the future of paradance sport?
I just remember I had a conversation with that. Unfortunately, he already passed away. And again, that man that I was telling you the story about, the man who used to be a police detective. So unfortunately, he passed away. And unfortunately, I think it was a heart attack. But I think that part of that was that the war situation. It contributed into that because I know that his son is a soldier, so he's fighting at front line. So just some time ago, I had a conversation with him. Just I remember the words he said. He said that what I like about this sport now, that if I look at the competition, I don't see a disabled person and able-bodied person. When you look at those dancers, you just totally forget about their disability because the level is the same as all dancers that perform and compete at able-bodied sport. And that's the way it should be. That's the way when you see a person doing amazing things, and you don't give a second thought about their level of abilities or if they are using their legs or not or whatever else. So I would like paradance to continue moving in that direction. And also, I would like Australian paradancers to be able to reach that level. I would like to see more of them. I would like to see more dance studios, even if it's not a group of people doing paradance. If there is a person with disability in that area that wants to take some dance classes, doesn't matter if it's on a social level or competitively, they should be able to come to that local dance studio and say, I would like to be a student. And I started connecting to dance sport and UNSW, and I am planning to run a course for dance teachers and judges to raise awareness about it, to teach them some tools, to share my experience. Because I would like any person, any wheelchair user to come to any dance studio and say, I would like to learn to dance. And those teachers should have some tools to be able to accept that person and teach them.